Welcome back to another deep dive into the Fallout universe. Today, we are continuing the story that began with Sarah's testament. This video explores what happens after that first confession ends, what life looks like for the ghouls left behind, how they maintain community and dignity in Underworld, and what new horrors Vault-Tec left waiting in sealed storage rooms. You are about to witness the daily struggle of ghouls fighting to stay human, while the Wasteland offers them faster ways to become monsters. You will see choices that should never have to be made. You will understand why some immortals beg for death, while others teach reading to students who might not remember the lessons tomorrow. This is the horrifying life of a ghoul in Fallout Part 2, told through Marcus Webb's eyes as his own memory begins to fail. And if you genuinely enjoy this kind of dark storytelling, consider subscribing and liking the channel, but only if it truly resonates with you. That recording was 3 years ago. Sarah went feral last spring. I was one of her shepherds. My name is Marcus Webb, and I put the bullet in her brain while she screamed at ghosts only she could see. She fought us at the end, begged us to wait, said she just needed one more day to remember, one more day to find the memory she had lost. But we had already given her 17 more days than protocol allowed. 17 days of watching her forget how to speak, how to recognize her own hands, how to be Sarah. The second shepherd that day was Gob from Megaton. He confirmed what we all knew. The third was a ghoul named Carol who runs a shop in Underworld. She recorded Sarah's real name in the Book of the Lost. 23,417 names now. That is how many pre-war ghouls have gone feral since we started keeping records. I live in Underworld now. Most of us do eventually. It is the closest thing we have to safety in the Capital Wasteland. The humans call it the Museum of History, but that is just the entrance. We have carved out an entire community in the lower levels. Sleeping quarters, a bar, a clinic, shops, and the Hall of Names where Carol keeps the book. It smells like decay and antiseptic and 200 years of accumulated ghoul sweat. It smells like home. You want to know what daily life looks like for us? It is not the dramatic horror Sarah described, though all of that is true. Mostly it is mundane. We wake up if we manage to sleep. We check ourselves for new decay. We eat if we can still stomach food, though many of us stopped bothering decades ago. Radiation sustains us better than Brahmin meat ever could. We work, trade, talk, exist in the shadow of our inevitable endings. Underworld has maybe 60 permanent residents. Another 30 or 40 drift through each year. Some stay, most move on. They are looking for something we cannot give them. Purpose maybe, or acceptance, or proof that they are still the people they remember being. The Wasteland strips those illusions away quick. Willow runs the 9th Circle, our bar. She has been tending bar for 140 years. Before that, she was a lawyer in DC. Worked in one of those glass towers that are just skeletal frames now. She says she switched to bartending because lawyers need to remember case law and precedent, but bartenders only need to remember that everyone is suffering and could use a drink. Her memory started slipping 30 years ago. Now she writes down every regular's usual order on their arm when they sit down. By the end of the night, the ink is smeared by condensation and decay, but it works well enough. Dr. Barrows runs the chop shop, our clinic. He was a veterinarian before the war, worked mostly with dogs and cats. Now he patches up ghouls and the occasional brave smoothskin who stumbles down here. He says the principles are the same. Stop the bleeding, set the bones, make the patient comfortable. Except our bones set wrong more often than right. Our bleeding stops on its own through radioactive coagulation, and comfort is a concept that died with our nerve endings. Greta runs a hotel in Underworld. That still makes me laugh. A hotel in the basement of a ruined museum for guests who will never truly sleep and never truly leave. But she maintains it with fierce pride. Clean sheets changed weekly, working toilets, even some salvage paintings on the walls. She says dignity matters, especially when everything else has been taken from you. I think she is right. I stay in room 7, have for 60 years. Then there is Azrakal. He owns the 9th Circle, technically, though everyone knows Willow is the real heart of that place. Azrakal is smooth in all the wrong ways. Manipulative, cruel when he thinks no one important is watching. He bought Gob's contract from some slaver and keeps him working at the bar in Megaton as an indentured servant. Says it is good business, having a ghoul presence in human settlements. Builds bridges, he claims. But we all know he just likes having power over someone more desperate than himself. The Wasteland changes everyone, but it changes us differently. We have had 2 centuries to calcify into our worst or best selves. There is no middle ground when you have that much time. You either become someone like Greta, finding meaning in small dignities, or you become Azrakal, nursing resentments until they become your entire personality. I try to be like Greta, try to find purpose in the small things. I teach reading to the younger ghouls, the ones turned after the war who never got proper education. The wasteland is not kind to the illiterate. You need to read terminal entries, understand contracts, decipher pre-war signs that might lead to supplies, or warn about radiation. I hold classes in the Hall of Names, surrounded by thousands of recorded dead. Seemed appropriate somehow. 3 days ago, a new ghoul arrived in Underworld. She was young by our standards, maybe 40 years turned, still had most of her nose. She came from somewhere up north, she said, one of the Commonwealth settlements. She would not tell us her name at first, just sat in the 9th circle drinking irradiated water and staring at nothing. Willow eventually got it out of her. Rose. Her name was Rose. She had been part of a settlement near the old MIT campus. Humans and ghouls living together, she said. Actually working together. Actually equal. It sounded like a fantasy. But then the Institute got involved. You know about the Institute? The boogeyman of the Commonwealth. The faction that supposedly lives underground in high-tech luxury while the surface world rots. They make synths. Artificial humans so perfect you cannot tell them from the real thing. They replace people, steal them away in the night, and send synth duplicates back to spy and sabotage and control. Rose said the Institute started replacing the ghouls in her settlement. Not with synth ghouls, that would be too obvious. They just made them disappear. One by one, the ghouls would go missing. The humans started getting paranoid, accusing the remaining ghouls of being synths in disguise. How would you even tell, right? Cut us open and we all look like walking anatomy textbooks already. No way to know if there is a synth chip in our brains, or just regular old radiation damage. The settlement tore itself apart from the inside. Humans killing ghouls on suspicion, ghouls fleeing before they became targets. And the Institute just watched, Rose said. Studied the breakdown, the paranoia, the violence. Social experiment, probably. They are famous for those. Vault-Tec learned from the best. Or maybe the Institute learned from Vault-Tec. Hard to say which came first. The cruelty or the science justifying it. Rose was one of the last to leave. She showed us the scars on her wrists where the humans tied her up, interrogated her for 3 days about whether she was really herself. They let her go eventually, decided she was too deteriorated to be a synth. Even the Institute would not make something that ugly, they said. She told us this in a flat voice, no emotion, like reporting the weather. That is what trauma does when you have centuries to process it. It becomes just another fact, another data point in the long equation of your existence. I asked her why she came to Underworld. She looked at me like I was stupid. Where else would I go, she said. You are the only ones who will not question if I am real. You can see what I am, what we all are. There is no hiding it, no pretending, no paranoia, just rotten honesty. She was right, of course. That is what Underworld offers. Not safety, not comfort, but simple, brutal honesty. We are ghouls. We are dying slowly. We will go feral eventually. These are facts, immutable as gravity. And in a world built on lies and manipulation and hidden agendas, facts are a kind of freedom. But even here, even in our sanctuary, the outside world intrudes. The Brotherhood of Steel patrols the ruins above us. They are the tech hoarders, the self-righteous soldiers who think they are saving humanity by confiscating every piece of pre-war technology they find. They tolerate our existence barely. Elder Lyons, their leader in the Capital Wasteland, is more progressive than most. He focuses on actually helping people instead of just collecting laser rifles. But even he draws a line at ghouls. His soldiers have orders not to shoot us on sight, which is generous by wasteland standards. But they do not protect us either. A raider gang could wipe out Underworld tomorrow and the Brotherhood would shrug and say, that is just wasteland justice. We are acceptable casualties in their grand mission to rebuild civilization. Never mind that we were part of that civilization once. Never mind that we remember what they are trying to rebuild. Then there is the Enclave. Oh God, the Enclave. They are the remnants of the pre-war government. The ones who had the good bunkers and the secret plans. They have power armor, vertibirds, energy weapons that can reduce a super mutant to ash. And they have a cure for the wasteland, they say. A purifier, a vaccine, a solution that will cleanse the radiation and restore the world. The catch? It kills anyone with any mutation. Ghouls, super mutants, even humans with too much radiation exposure. We are contamination to them, genetic dead ends that need to be eliminated for the greater good. They have actually said this on their radio broadcasts. called us abominations, blights on the human race, necessary sacrifices for a clean tomorrow. There are maybe 10,000 ghouls left in the entire wasteland. 10,000 out of millions who survived the initial bombs. The Enclave wants to kill every single one of us, and they have the technology to do it. Their modified FEV, their water purifiers, their systematic extermination plans. They are efficient, I will give them that. Vault-Tec would be proud. Some ghouls want to fight back. There is a group that calls themselves the Rotting Resistance, though most of us just call them the Fools. They talk about sabotage, asymmetric warfare, hitting Enclave supply lines. It is suicide talk. We can survive radiation and bullets, but plasma weapons and modified viruses, those kill us same as anyone. We are not invincible, just hard to kill. There is a difference. I told Rose about the shepherds her second night in Underworld. She needed to know, needed to understand what we do here, what we offer. She cried or tried to. Her eyes did the motion, the squinting and the pain, but no tears. Never tears. She asked me if Sarah fought at the end. I told her yes. They all do. Have you ever wondered which version of yourself you will be when the fog comes? The fighter, the beggar, the silent acceptor? I think about it every day. Every morning when I check my reflection in a broken mirror and try to remember my mother's middle name. Every evening when I teach irregular verbs to ghouls who might not remember them tomorrow. Which Marcus will I be when my time comes? Drop your theories in the comments. Tell me if you think the fighters go easier or harder. Tell me if you think acceptance is wisdom or surrender. I need to know other people think about this too. The children of Underworld, the ones turned young, they are the hardest to watch. There is a boy named Billy, maybe 12 years old physically, been a ghoul for 70 years. He was locked in a refrigerator when the bombs fell. The lead lining protected him from immediate death, but the slow radiation leak ghoulified him over months. When someone finally let him out, his family was long dead. He looks for them still, walks the ruins calling names nobody has answered for decades. We try to teach him, try to give him some kind of childhood. But how do you explain puberty to someone who will never physically age? How do you teach coming of age to someone who came of age 70 years ago and just does not remember it? He is stuck, frozen, a child emperor of his own endless tragedy. Greta looks after him mostly. She says everyone needs a mother, even 200-year-old child ghouls who have forgotten what mothers are for. She makes him clean his room, do his chores, study with me in the afternoons. Normal things, routine things, anchors against the fog. It will not save him, nothing will save him, but maybe it will give him a few more years of being Billy, before he becomes just another feral shambling through the metro tunnels. The metro. That is where most ferals end up eventually, the ones who turn in DC. The underground tunnel system that used to move millions now houses thousands of feral ghouls wandering in the dark. Some people think they are drawn there by instinct, returning to the commutes they used to make. Others say they just get lost in the tunnels and never find their way out. Either way, the metro belongs to them now, the ferals, the forgotten, the final destination. I have been down there exactly twice, once to help clear a path for a trade caravan, and once as a shepherd tracking a feral who used to be my friend. The tunnels smell like ozone and meat left too long in the sun. The ferals cluster in the dark spots, avoiding the few working lights, pressing against walls with their faces turned away like they are ashamed. Maybe some part of them still is. Maybe some fragment of human consciousness remains, trapped and horrified by what the body is doing. That is the theory that keeps me awake during the long hours when sleep will not come. What if feralism is not losing your mind, but losing control of your body while your mind stays locked inside? What if they are all still in there? All 23,000 names in the book, screaming silently while their bodies commit atrocities. What if Sarah knew exactly what was happening when I put that bullet in her brain, and the begging was not confusion, but genuine, desperate pleading? I cannot think about that too long, or I will go feral myself from the horror. The Talon Company mercs came to Underworld last month looking for bounties. They are the Wasteland's hired killers, take contracts from anyone with enough caps. Someone put a price on ghoul scalps. 20 caps each, no questions asked. They made it as far as the museum entrance before Willow met them with a shotgun and 40 years of accumulated rage. She killed 3 before they retreated. We found the bodies the next morning, already starting to bloat in the radiated heat. Winthrop, our maintenance chief, dragged them to the irradiated sections and left them for the ferals. Waste not, he said. The ferals need to eat too. I did not ask if he meant that practically or philosophically. Some questions are better left alone. The Talon Company has not come back. Word spreads fast in the wasteland. You attack Underworld, you do not leave. Simple as that. We are not warriors by choice, but 2 centuries teaches you how to kill efficiently. Our bodies might be falling apart, but our aim is steady, and our desperation is absolute. That makes us more dangerous than any raider gang. But the bounty is still active. We know because smooth-skin traders tell us. They whisper warnings. These decent few who see us as people instead of targets. 20 caps is not much, they say, but there are crews desperate enough to try. Stay underground, they advise. Stay hidden. Stay safe. Safe. That word means something different when you are already dead by most definitions. I have been thinking about what Rose said, about the Institute and their replacements. It got me wondering about synths. Are they alive? Are they people? The Railroad, that underground faction that smuggles escaped synths to freedom. They say yes. The Institute says no. They are just machines, property, tools. The Brotherhood says they are abominations that need to be destroyed regardless. But here is what I keep coming back to. If synths are not alive because they were manufactured instead of born, what does that make us? We were born human, but radiation rebuilt us at the cellular level. We are manufactured too, in a way, remade by nuclear fire into something that should not exist. Are we alive? Are we people? Or are we just organic machines running on radiation instead of fusion cores? The smoothskins get to decide for synths. They get to decide for us too. That is the real power in the Wasteland, the ability to define what counts as human. And we, the ghouls, the synths, the super mutants, we are always on the wrong side of that definition. There is a super mutant who visits Underworld sometimes. His name is Fox, and he is different from the others. Most super mutants are violent, stupid victims of bad FEV exposure that burned out their intelligence while making them massive. But Fawkes is smart, educated. He reads books and talks about philosophy and treats us with more respect than most humans ever have. He told me once that he understands what it is like to be trapped in a body that marks you as a monster. He was human before the FEV, he says, though he cannot remember who. The transformation erased his past, but not his capacity for thought. Now he wanders the wasteland helping people when he can, trying to prove that consciousness matters more than appearance. It is a losing battle. People shoot at him on sight more often than not. We let him into Underworld because he is like us, another victim of the wasteland's many corruptions, another consciousness trapped in a nightmare body, another being trying to hold on to personhood while the world insists we are monsters. He sits in the 9th circle and drinks water with us, and we do not talk about what we have lost. We just exist together in comfortable understanding. Last time he visited, he brought news from the Capital Wasteland. The lone wanderer, that vault dweller everyone talks about, activated Project Purity, the water purifier that was supposed to save the wasteland. Fawkes was there, he said. Went into the radiation chamber and activated it himself because the wanderer could not survive the exposure. But Fawkes could, same as we could. Radiation is our element now. The purifier works. Clean water flowing from the Potomac for the first time in 200 years. The Brotherhood controls distribution. They are giving it away for free, which is generous by wasteland standards. But there are rumors, whispers that the Enclave tried to poison it first. Tried to put modified FEV in the water that would kill anyone with mutations. Fox stopped them, he says. Stopped them from committing genocide disguised as salvation. I asked him if the clean water changes anything for us. He looked at me with those yellowish super mutant eyes and said no. Clean water does not cure prejudice. Clean water does not make people see us as human. Clean water just means they will be hydrated while they hunt us. He is right, of course, but I still feel something like hope when I think about that purifier. Not hope for us, we are beyond saving. Hope for the world, maybe. Hope that something good can still happen. That humanity can still build instead of just destroy, even if we are not included in that humanity anymore. The younger ghouls do not understand that distinction. The ones turned after the war, who never knew the world before, they do not carry our particular grief. They were born into hell and think hell is just how the world is. Rose is like that. She does not mourn civilization because she never knew it existed. She just sees factions and violence and survival. Simple equations. Us versus them, I envy that sometimes. The clarity of it. But mostly I pity it. She will never know what we lost. She will never understand that the wasteland is not normal, that humanity used to be capable of better. She will live her centuries thinking this is all there ever was, all there ever could be. And when she goes feral, she will die never knowing we used to have museums for art instead of shelter, that water used to be clean by default, that people used to touch each other without fear of contamination. Is that better or worse than carrying the memories? I honestly do not know anymore. There was an incident in Megaton 3 weeks ago. Some drifter with a .32 pistol and a head full of jet decided Gob looked at him wrong, pulled his gun right there in the bar and put 2 rounds in Gob's chest. The holes went clean through. You could see the wall behind him through the wounds. Gob just stood there, staring down at the holes, watching them slowly start to close. The drifter screamed and ran. Gob finished serving drinks. Azrakul did not even let him take the night off. Said the customers needed tending and bullet holes were not an excuse. That is what I mean about Azrakul. He sees Gob as property, as a tool that happens to be shaped like a person. The fact that Gob keeps working, keeps existing in that servitude, it breaks something in me every time I think about it. I asked Gob once why he does not just leave. Walk away, come to Underworld, be free. He said where would he go? What would he do? Azrakul feeds him, gives him purpose, tells him what his life is for. Without that, Gob said, he is just another rotting thing waiting to go feral. At least in Megaton, he matters to someone, even if he only matters as property. That is what the Wasteland does to people. Makes them grateful for abuse because abuse is better than emptiness. Makes them accept cruelty as care because care is so rare that any attention feels like love. Gob has been enslaved so long, he has forgotten what freedom even means. I wanted to argue with him, to shake him, to make him understand. But then I thought about Underworld. About how we police ourselves, test ourselves, execute ourselves when we fail the cognitive assessments. Is that freedom? Or is that just a different kind of slavery, bound by fear instead of contracts? Are we really free or just trapped in a prettier cage? If you had to choose between Gob's servitude in Megaton or our communal death watch in Underworld, which would you pick? Tell me in the comments. Tell me if there is actually a difference, or if they are both just ways to pretend we still have choices. The ferals are getting worse. Not more numerous, but more aggressive. Something is changing in them. Some evolution we do not understand yet. They used to just shamble and moan and attack when you got too close. Now they coordinate, hunt in packs, set ambushes. Dr. Barrows says their brains are developing new neural pathways, radiation-powered instinct replacing conscious thought. They are becoming perfect predators, he says. Specialized killing machines that never tire, never stop, never die. He said this while stitching up a caravan guard who barely survived a feral attack. The ferals worked together, he said. Drove him into a dead end, came at him from 3 sides, kept him trapped until he ran out of ammunition. He only survived because a Brotherhood patrol heard the gunfire. Even then, it took plasma fire to put the ferals down. Regular bullets just slowed them. This is what we are becoming. Not just mindless, but something worse than mindless. Weaponized by our own degradation. I think about Sarah at the end. The way she moved wrong. The way she seemed to know exactly where we were, even after her eyes went milky. Was that coordination? Was that hunting behavior? Was she already evolving into what the ferals are becoming now? The thought keeps me awake. All those hours I cannot sleep. I lie in room 7 staring at the ceiling and wondering if feralism is not an ending but a beginning. If we are not dying but transforming into something new. Something the Wasteland needs. Apex predators that feed on the living and cannot be killed. Radiation incarnate. The Wasteland's immune system. Cleansing the world of the species that destroyed it. That would be poetic. Horrible, but poetic. Humanity burns the world with nuclear fire, and the fire makes new creatures whose only purpose is to burn humanity in return. Perfect cosmic justice. Perfect evolutionary logic. I do not want to become that. I do not want my last act as Marcus Webb to be hunting terrified humans through dark tunnels. But wanting does not matter much in the Wasteland. It never has. Winthrop found something in the lower levels last week. A sealed section we thought was collapsed but was actually just buried under rubble. He cleared it out, curious about what might be inside, and found a Vault-Tec storage facility. Not a vault, just storage. Crates and crates of preserved supplies. 200-year-old inventory that never got distributed. Most of it was worthless. Clipboards, forms, motivational posters with that creepy Vault boy giving thumbs up while the world burned. But one crate was different. Medical supplies, experimental drugs, things labeled Ghoul Research Division. We did not even know Vault-Tec had a Ghoul Research Division. Dr. Barrows has been studying the contents for days. He will not tell us what he found yet, says he needs to be sure, needs to run tests. But I have seen his face when he thinks no one is looking. He is not horrified. He is excited. That scares me more than any feral ever could. Excitement means discovery. Discovery means application. Application means someone is going to suffer in new and innovative ways. Vault-Tec specialized in suffering. Their entire purpose was to run experiments on captive populations, to see how far they could push human endurance before people broke. Some vaults were flooded with psychoactive drugs. Some were designed to fail slowly, killing occupants over decades. Some were paradises that turned into prisons. All of them were cruelty wrapped in science, torture disguised as research. If Vault-Tec was researching ghouls, it was not to help us. It was to understand us so they could exploit us, use us, weaponize us, and whatever Dr. Barrows found in those crates, whatever got him excited instead of horrified, it means someone at Vault-Tec succeeded in their research, succeeded in finding ways to make our existence even worse than it already is. I am afraid to ask what he found, but I will have to eventually. We all will, because knowledge in the wasteland does not stay hidden. Someone will use it. The only question is who and what they will do with it, and how many of us will suffer when they do. The fog is coming. I can feel it at the edges now. Little blank spots in my memory, moments where I lose track of what I was saying mid-sentence. This morning I could not remember Fawkes's name for almost an hour. Just called him the smart one until the word finally surfaced. It terrified me. Still terrifies me. This is how it starts. This is how it started for Sarah. And yet I teach. Because what else is there? What else can I do with these centuries of unwanted life? I can surrender to despair and take the accelerant. I can wait passively for feralism to claim me. Or I can choose meaning even in the face of meaninglessness. Can insist that the struggle matters even when the outcome does not change. That is what Sarah taught me in the end. Not through her words, but through her existence. She fought for 213 years to stay human. She lost that fight. But the fighting itself was the point. The refusal to surrender. The insistence on maintaining dignity and consciousness and care for as long as possible. That was her legacy. That is the only legacy any of us can leave. I started writing this testimony 3 months ago. Kept it going even as my memory failed, even as the blank spots grew larger. I do not know how much time I have left. Could be decades, could be days. The fog comes for us all eventually. Patient and inevitable as radiation. But I want someone to know we existed. Want someone to understand what we were, what we tried to be. We were not monsters, though the wasteland called us that. We were not heroes, though we survived the unsurvivable. We were just people, flawed, frightened, failing people trying to hold on to scraps of humanity in a world that had abandoned the concept. My name is Marcus Webb. I was an architect before the war, designed buildings that no longer exist in a city that became ash. I had a wife named Jennifer and twin sons named Michael and David. They died in the bombs, while I was trapped in a shelter that had just enough lead in the walls to ghoulify me. Instead of killing me, I have taught reading to wasteland survivors for 93 years. I have been a shepherd 14 times. I have watched friends, students, and strangers slip into the fog and never return. I am still human, even now, even with the decay, even with the fog creeping closer. I am human because I choose to be. Because I insist on care and dignity and meaning, even when all of those things are illusions, we tell ourselves to survive the night. We are all dying. Humans, ghouls, super mutants, everyone. The wasteland kills us all eventually. The only question is what we do with the time between now and then. Do we spread suffering or reduce it? Do we create meaning or destroy it? Do we hold on to our humanity or let the wasteland strip it away? I choose humanity. Every day, every moment, every lesson taught, and every kindness offered. I choose it knowing it will not save me. Knowing I will go feral anyway. Knowing my choice ultimately changes nothing about my fate, but it changes everything about who I am. And in the wasteland, when everything else has been taken, who you choose to be is the only victory possible. This is Marcus Webb, 97 years ghoulified, signing off. Still teaching, still fighting, still human. The fog is close now, but it is not here yet. And until it is, I will keep choosing, keep teaching, keep being the person Jennifer and Michael and David would remember, even though they are long past remembering anything. That is enough. It has to be enough, because in the end, it is all any of us have.